I guess where I'm coming from, and I'm coming from someone who used to be a socialist myself for a pretty long time, and actually started my whole content creation, like creating like leftist and socialist content, is that like a lot of these issues that exist, I think, can be solved with social democracy. And a lot of people say that there's like issues with social democracy. It starts to corrupt. People start to fight and advocate against it. But I don't think that's a critique against social democracy in of itself. I think that just means that you just need to maintain social democracy in the same type of way like we maintain our democracy.
Well, man, like social democracy hasn't been tried.
Remember, Marxists like Hassan do not believe that social democracy is a possible stable system. I'm summarizing stuff that I've never read or even directly take everything I'm saying again, grain of salt. But my understanding of the osmosis information through time and space is Marx or a Marxist would say that there exists a fundamental tension between the capital owner and the laborer that over time, this might be tied into the concept like the rate of profits falling. I think like eventually because of conflict between and because of the different interests between the proletariat and the bourgeois, and the tension that exists there, and the fact that these systems are inherently unstable because of that tension, because of profits falling over time, that eventually these systems have to collapse. And then I believe some kind of communist or socialist society is what would follow afterwards, I think is what I was hypothesized. So whenever Hassan agrees with somebody like, oh yeah, social democracy, that'd be great. People like Hassan might say that, but they don't actually believe that it's possible to stay in a social democracy because there's a conflict of interest between the worker and the owner that can never be solved for, no matter how many times you bandage it up with government policy.
Well, I mean, like we could say that like we don't think that this real certain form has been tried, and I think that it's cool. But like my argument would then be is that we'd have to try it on smaller levels to be able to see whether or not it works on a larger form in order to be able to say that like it's actually effective. I don't think we'd be able to say that we should adopt it on some sort of globalized production model if it is the case that we don't have any type of level of actual probabilistic means of demonstrating how likely it is that it's going to be beneficial for workers or for people. Because we could actually like hurt some of our concerns, like quality of life for workers, if we don't take that into account when we're like applying these sorts of systems. If we don't know what the empirical effect is of these different types of
somebody said Marx assumed not that much growth in the economy, which would have led to huge growth in inequality. Yeah, I think, and the idea of like profits falling over time, I think was a really important thing as well. But I don't think that's ever been demonstrated. Profits seem to be holding pretty steady, and the economy keeps improving, and capital keeps growing, but who knows? Maybe at some point.
Theoretical models. Not to say that theoretical models
are really hard to debate when their belief is that they are advocating for the right thing, sharing is caring mentality, rather than anything based in reality. Yeah, maybe. They moralize a lot of their arguments, but that's why you have to push them on the opposite moral end, which is what Ethan, in a drunken master way, did to Hassan. He's like, wait, so then what happens if somebody wants to own their own business in a socialist society? Oh, we stick them in a re-education camp.
Of these different types of theoretical models. Not to say that theoretical models can't.
Destiny, the economic calculation problem. Yes, you've been spamming this a lot. The socialist response to the economic calculation problem is literally Walmart. It's their biggest thing, and you have to talk through a whole thing to explain why it's a stupid counterexample, and that's a whole thing that
can't be then used or.
Hassan Piker is on a podcast, looking like he just stepped out of a Bernie Sanders rally with a fresh copy of Does Capital under his arm. Hassan's no stranger to the socialist gospel. He's been preaching it since his days at the Young Turks, building a Twitch empire on the back of his charisma, moral conviction, and a knack for making Eat the Rich sound like a catchy pop song. But today, he's got a bone to pick with social democracy. That liberal darling of Scandinavian bliss where workers get paid vacations, healthcare is free, and billionaires are taxed like they're actual humans. Hassan is not buying it. He's channeling his inner Marxist, arguing that social democracy is a house of cards, a temporary truce in the eternal war between capital and labor that's destined to collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. Why? Because, in Hassan's view, the tension between owners and workers, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, if you're feeling fancy, is so fundamental, so unresolvable, that no amount of government band-aids can keep it from imploding. Social democracy, he says, is like trying to fix a sinking ship with duct tape. It might hold for a while, but eventually you're all going down with the Titanic. Hassan's argument is pure Marxist catnip. He's riffing on the idea that capitalism's built-in flaws, like the supposed falling rate of profit, where owners make less money over time as competition and automation kick in, create an inevitable clash between the haves and the have-nots. This clash, Hassan suggests, will either lead to revolution, hello, communist utopia, or a slow, painful unraveling of social democracy as owners fight tooth and nail to protect their wealth. It's a grim vision, one that paints social democracy as a naive half-measure, a compromise that's doomed to be crushed by the relentless gears of capitalist greed. Hassan, S not saying he's against social democracy outright. He's just skeptical it can last, like a guy who loves a good airbnb, but knows the host is gonna screw him over with a cleaning fee. Enter Destiny, our liberal avenger, streaming from his digital war room with a look of incredulity that could curdle milk. Destiny's not just skeptical of Hassan's argument, he's offended, like Hassan's trying to sell him a timeshare in a post-capitalist fantasy land. His reaction stream is a masterclass in rhetorical carnage, as he dismantles Hassan's Marxist framework with the precision of a surgeon and the ferocity of a pit bull. Social democracy isn't just possible, Destiny argues. It's working right now in places like Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, where workers have strong unions, healthcare is universal, and inequality is lower than a limbo stick at a beach party. Hassan's claim that it's inherently unstable. Destiny calls it out, pointing out that the falling rate of profit is a Marxist fever dream that's never been proven, that economies keep growing, and that social democracies have been chugging along just fine for decades. This isn't a debate, it's a slaughter, and Destiny's wielding the flamethrower. Destiny's roast of Hassan is a thing of beauty, a verbal evisceration that's equal parts hilarious and horrifying. He's not just calling out Hassan's skepticism, he's exposing the cracks in the Marxist narrative, the kind of cracks you could drive a Tesla Cybertruck through. Hassan's argument hinges on the idea that social democracy can't survive the tension between capital and labor, that owners will always claw back power, that profits will inevitably fall, and that the whole system will collapse like a Jenga tower in an earthquake. Destiny's like, hold up, comrade, have you looked at the data? Profits aren't falling, corporations are swimming in cash like Scrooge McDuck in a money vault. Economies are growing, inequalities being managed in social democracies, and the Nordic model's been kicking butt for decades. Hassan's vision of an inevitable capitalist collapse. It's not just naive, it's outdated, a 19th century prophecy that sounds about as relevant as a telegraph in the age of TikTok. What makes Destiny's takedown so delicious is his refusal to let Hassan hide behind theoretical jargon. Hassan's riffing on Marxist concepts like the falling rate of profit and the inherent tension between classes, but Destiny's calling it what it is. A theoretical model that's never been proven, a ghost story Marxists tell themselves to justify their revolution fantasies. Destiny's not saying capitalism's perfect, far from it. He's a liberal, not a libertarian. He's all about strong regulations, progressive taxes, and safety nets that actually catch people. But he's also a realist, someone who knows that social democracy isn't just a pipe dream. It's a proven system that's delivered better lives for millions without requiring a guillotine or a re-education camp. Hassan's skepticism, Destiny argues, isn't based on evidence. It's based on ideology, a moralizing narrative that paints capitalism as the devil and socialism as the savior. As liberals, we're supposed to be the ones fighting for progress, for a fairer world where everyone gets a shot at the good life. So why does Hassan's Marxist takedown of social democracy feel like a punch to the gut? Because, my friends, it's a rejection of the very system that's been proving the left's ideas work for decades. Social democracy isn't just a compromise, it's a triumph, a model that's taken the best parts of capitalism, innovation, growth, and socialism, equity, safety nets, and mashed them together like a perfect ideological smoothie. It's the system that's given us universal healthcare in Sweden, free college in Norway, and workers' rights in Denmark that make American labor laws look like a medieval torture device. And Hassan's out here saying it's doomed. It's like telling a chef their Michelin-starred dish is just a fancy Happy Meal. Destiny's defense of social democracy is the liberal conscience in overdrive, a reminder that progress isn't about chasing utopias. It's about building systems that actually work. Hassan's argument that the tension between capital and labor will always tear social democracy apart ignores the fact that these systems are designed to manage that tension, not eliminate it. Strong regulations, progressive taxes, and robust unions keep owners in check, ensuring that wealth doesn't concentrate in the hands of a few while workers get screwed. Destiny's point is brutal but necessary. Social democracy isn't perfect, but it's real, grounded in evidence, not ideology. It's the system that's delivered better lives for millions without requiring a revolution or a re-education camp.